Hello and welcome to this book review of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time by Mark Haddon. It was written in 2003 and it was one of those books that really struck with me and stayed with me for a long time. And it's one that I always recommend to young people because I think it really speaks to them and is something quite unique that they've never read before. There is a warning. It comes with explicit language, so I'd rather it was for older readers and you checked with parents to make sure they're happy for you to read this kind of book. So when I first read this book, I was on holiday in Ireland. I had to actually break into a bookcase to read this because the holiday home I was staying in had a padlock and key on the bookcase. So I had to hunt around finding the key and unlocking it. I even took a picture of exactly where it was placed on the bookshelf so that I could remember where to return it to. And I had to read it very quickly within the time of the holiday, but that was no problem because it was a really gripping read. So what's the book about? Well, it focuses on a character called Christopher. And Christopher finds the body of Mrs. Shear's poodle, Wellington, and it has a fork struck through its body. So the dog has been killed. Now, Christopher is quite unique because he has Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism. He's obsessed with maths, with science, with Sherlock Holmes, but he finds it really hard to understand people. So he discovers this dead dog and he decides to solve the mystery and he writes a detective thriller about it. So it's a good detective story, and the further the investigation goes on, the mystery deepens and he finds out all sorts of secrets about his family. So the genre of the book is really a mysterious crime novel. It's also a coming of age story. So it's about discovery of the teenage boy and who he is. Most of the book is set in Swindon, which is a real life place during the 1990s. Christopher himself had never been outside his own street or school. He'd never travelled because of his autism. So he actually ends up in London, which is a real sharp contrast to Swindon that he knows. It's noisy and it's crowded and it's quite overwhelming for him. So, as I said, Christopher Boone is the main narrator of the novel. He's a very talented 15-year-old boy, but he has several traits of autism. So his food can't touch on its plate. He can't eat anything yellow or brown. In fact, the colours yellow and brown make him scream. He screams when he's touched. So the only way that he can communicate by touch is with his father, where he has a special sort of a handshake where they touch by fingertips. He finds everything about human beings really confusing. In particular, he finds facial expressions really hard to understand. So Christopher's father is another main character. They have a really loving relationship because they live as father and son, just the two of them. He's really patient and he's really caring towards Christopher, but he's also quite frustrated with him sometimes. So he's somebody who sometimes loses his temper with Christopher. Siobhan is Christopher's teacher, and she is a fantastic role model for him. She helps him understand the world around him. So she encourages him, she supports him. So what sort of reader might enjoy this? Well, if you like mystery stories, then you would definitely enjoy this because it's a real page turner, which makes you want to read further to find out the mysteries and solve and unravel the mysteries. It's also a really unique narrative perspective because it's narrated by someone with autism. So this is a voice that you've never heard before. It's also really, really funny because we get to enjoy his unique perspective and we see how he interprets things, which are in a completely unique way. It also has unique short chapters as well, and it has lots of things that really make the tension sustain. So are there any other similar stories or films out there? Well, a lot of you will have read of Mice and Men, which is about Lenny who has learning difficulties. That has a similar link. The Catcher in the Rye is a similar novel because it's about that coming of age, teenage discovery. And then you may have seen or read The Girl on the Train, which is a mystery thriller, and this has similar traits to those. So the key themes of the novel are family, honesty and trust, and braving the unknown. So there's some really important relationships that are with Christopher and his mother and his father. And the novel explores what it's like to be a parent, what it's like to be a child, and those challenges of living with learning difficulties. There's also a theme of honesty and trust, because there are lies that have been told, and these are things that Christopher wants to get to the bottom of. And there's also a theme of bravery, braving the unknown and taking on challenges that you didn't think you were capable of taking on. So is there anything the writer has done especially well? Well, I really like the chapters because each chapter is a prime number. So as I said before, Christopher really likes things that he knows as factual and true. So he loves prime numbers. There's also sketches and cartoons in the book. Perhaps you might remember the Diary of a Wimpy Kid as that sort of style, to show how he responds to things, particularly emotions. And the novel is written in a stream of consciousness style, which is a little bit like just emptying out your brain of all your thoughts. So it's a really unique, interesting way of narrating a novel. So any other context or facts to know relating to the book? Well, I was lucky enough to see the stage show of this book, and it was incredible. The special effects, the detail, the lighting, it was very modern, really gripping, and just as good as the novel itself. So I would strongly recommend you reading this book. I have not met a single person who has not loved it and thought it was incredible. So good luck with reading and enjoy.